Good afternoon or good evening, folks. It's Andy Perez with Special Effects Academy, and we're on the start of the week session of the Forex trading room for September 15th of 2019. Our actual agenda, we'll take a look at the results from the prior week, our currency strength meter for the past month and past week, anything on the calendar as regards fundamental announcements for this week coming up, a look at the major pairs on the daily charts, any setups we see in progress, and a few words in conclusion. With our ledgers, not much change. One change on the long-term ledger. We got taken out of the USD Swiss short with 250 pips of deficit on that trade. And as of Friday, we still had two trades open, Pound Swiss and Pound JPY, both of them carrying significant profit. We have been taken out very recently on the Pound JPY at profit as it retraced, and it seems to be going back up. So we may be entering that trade soon. I'll take a look at it after this session, but the account is nice and healthy thanks to the two trades on the bottom, so we're looking good. On the intermediate term ledger, an uptick on closed trades, so we did gain a couple of percentage points. And same as with the long-term account, we are carrying some nice profit and also got taken out of the Pound JPY long at profit just in the last few minutes. And again, we may be re-entering that trade as it does seem to be going back up. And on the short-term account, we did quite well, an uptick of a little bit over 5% on, what was that, 7 trades that we opened, 2 losers, the other 5 winners, and, well, it was a good week. We had some nice trending going on, both longer term as well as intra-week. Take advantage of that on all 3 accounts. Notes and opportunities for improvement. As I just said, market is moving steadily and with increasing momentum, and all of our accounts are up, as well as a lot of open profit being carried on them right now. UK Parliament did enter a 5-week suspension this past week, with pound strength expected to continue until something, of course, changes the outlook. For now, it's looking very rosy for the UK. Indeed, many are thinking that Brexit can be averted altogether. So this has been propping up the pound, and, well, we'll see how far that goes. Some key announcements coming out this week. Interest rate decisions and whatnot, which we'll review in the next slide or in the next couple of slides. And a new tropical storm is coming up the Caribbean and may be hitting the U.S. So the Bahamas are being hit now twice in a row, and that is ongoing right now. So there is a chance that this could hit the continental U.S. In the next week or so. So keep an eye on that. Okay, our relative strength meter for the past 30 days and the past 7. On the last 30 days, we're starting to see some nice colors there on that chart. The volatility has gone down somewhat to under 5. It was at 8% and change last week. So we are seeing a little bit of a drop as the higher volatility weeks at the beginning of the month have started to come off the chart. This is a rolling window, so it will always show you the last 30 days. We can also see that gold in the last 30 days has given back a lot of its gains, while silver continued to trend very near the top. Key winners in the last 30 days, of course, the pound is going on 2 or 3 weeks of some very nice pound strength movement. The Aussie has been a loser. The Swiss has been a loser. The yen definitely a loser. The Kiwi has given up a lot of ground, and the U.S. hasn't done as bad as we might have expected. It's actually done pretty good. But still, the overall winner, of course, being the pound. On the weekly RSM, we do have the Aussie recovering somewhat, except against the pound. Of course, the pound is going to be your clear winner. Silver gave up a lot of its gains this past week against pretty much everybody, but still topping the chart for the monthly, and gold continued to underperform. We have the dollar, the Kiwi, the CAD a little bit shaky, gaining ground against some, losing against others. Clear losers are going to be the yen and I'm going to say to some degree the Canadian. The Canadian did very poorly against everybody except the yen. The yen also clearly a loser for the past week. And now we go into our calendar, a pretty busy calendar for this coming week. We've got the Reserve Bank of Australia meeting minutes coming out tomorrow night at 9:30 p.m. We have the Fed interest rate decision, and the Fed is widely expected to lower the interest rate on Wednesday at 2 p.m., so that will dovetail with our regular afternoon session. We've got employment numbers coming out of Australia, and we've got a Bank of Japan interest rate decision showing up as 10 p.m., but they've been coming out more towards 11 p.m. to midnight, so take that with a grain of salt. We'll try to trade it, but we'll see what time it does actually end up coming out. On Thursday, we have the Swiss National Bank interest rate decision. That's going to be a key one because the Swiss National Bank has been telegraphing that they do want to tweak the franc a little bit. So we'll see what they end up doing. And of course, later that same morning, the Bank of England interest rate decision, which also might be one to keep an eye on, given everything that's going on in the UK. So we've got six major announcements that we will be trading live, and some of them may need tweaking regarding especially the Bank of Japan interest rate, but we'll see. These, of course, will be included in our calendar, so you can keep an eye out for that. And with that, we are going to move into the charts. Oil continues to be very bouncy, so it goes up, it goes down. It is staying pretty close to the 54.75 area of support resistance, which is also matching the Ichimoku cloud. We did have a lot of drama coming out of the Middle East this past from Friday onwards or in the weekend. We had some attacks on Aramco. That's the biggest oil company in Saudi Arabia. They had 2 or 3 of their facilities attacked by fundamentalists out of Yemen, and it looks like there was some damage. It looks like the oil production capacities are going to be affected. Still not sure what that's going to do to oil price, but the Saudis represent about 4% of the oil production for the planet. So there's that. So this bears keeping an eye on. Not sure what it's going to do yet, but we'll be monitoring. Moving on to our currencies, euro dollar also very bouncy. You can see that this week it went in both directions. It dropped all the way down to the prior low and then went all the way back up, clearing the prior high. It's still staying pretty close to the top of that channel, but it's getting very, very tough to trade this one since it is going in both directions. That will become a recipe for disaster if we get caught in one of those, since by definition, they pretty much will take us out in whichever direction we trade by hitting our stop losses, unless we use very, very wide stops. And I'm not willing to take that big of a risk on some of this. We'll keep an eye on it, but it's not going to be my favorite pair to trade. Pound dollar, of course, the pound doing breakouts across pretty much every single pound pair. This one, no exception. So it's going for the top. We do have open trades on quite a few pound pairs right now, and all of them carrying significant profit. I don't think we've been trading the pound dollar too much. We may have traded it short term towards the end of the week. But the dollar is also doing a little bit of a dance, so this has not been my favorite pair to trade. But there's no denying that we have a confirmed breakout on the pound dollar. USD JPY, same thing. We're breaking out towards the top. We do have an open trade on the USD JPY, and it is carrying profit. We'll see how far that goes. So we looked at, as we saw in the relative strength meter, the yen was pretty much hard hit last week, and indeed last week was pretty much an entire bullish movement, almost but not quite getting to the next level of resistance. USD Canadian, I also mentioned the CAD had a tough time, so this was a retracement week for the CAD. It didn't quite cross the sideways channel there, but it gave a pretty good try. It is once again above the Ichimoku cloud. So officially, we would be looking more for long entries than short, but we'll have to see how the week kicks off. US Swiss, very balanced going in both directions. So it went up and it went down, pretty much finished the week flat, well, a little bit above where it opened, but still reasonably flat. So it is directionless right now. And much like the euro dollar, it's moving a little bit too wildly to be trading it on anything other than very long term. And I wouldn't even pick a direction right now for long term. So we're going to be waiting on that. Aussie dollar also trying to do a breakout, but not quite making it last week. So it is at the top of the Ichimoku cloud. Definitely a bullish movement, but it did sort of fizzle out towards the end of the week. We saw it do retraces on both Thursday and Friday. So not too sure what's going to be going on. I would still be leaning more towards short entries than long on this pair, but we'll see what it ends up doing. Kiwi dollar, same thing, going down at this point. It did do a pretty good try of breaking resistance, couldn't quite manage it, and did drop back down to the prior level of support. Also, an open trade, we are short on the Kiwi dollar and carrying some profit, but we're still looking for that lower low. Aussie Canadian, the Canadian again last week, not a good week. So it did break out of both the Ichimoku cloud and the next level of resistance above that. But most of that movement was on Friday, as you can clearly see there. So we'll have to wait and see how it opens up the week. But at this point, I would be looking for long entries as opposed to short until it does switch direction again. Euro Swiss, we took profit on that nice drop you can see there on Thursday. It just dropped all the way to the bottom and then popped back up. We took pretty much the entire movement as it did hit our limit. We had our take profit at that level of support. It hit, took us out, and then it popped all the way back up. That was a pretty incredible bit of movement out of the Euro Swiss. And, well, I wouldn't be looking for entries just yet. I'll wait to see what it ends up doing. But we did well with it last week. Euro pound, one of our better open trades across, I think, no, there's just one account, Euro pound. No, we took some profit on the short-term account on the Euro pound on Friday. But our long-running trade is on the intermediate. It's carrying a huge chunk of profit, and it doesn't seem to be stopping anytime soon. So we'll continue riding that one, hopefully all the way down to the bottom. Euro JPY, which we haven't been trading, seems to be doing a retrace towards the trend line, and it is in the middle of a Kumo cross. I don't know how long this yen weakness is going to last, but I don't particularly trust it. That can turn on a dime. But if it does break the trend line or the next level of resistance, we will start looking for long entries. Euro Canadian, as with the other cat pairs, it did, well, it attempted a breakout, didn't quite manage it, but it did go all the way back up to one of the outer, actually, that's the middle trend line, but let's call it the outer for now until it's broken. So it is in a bullish mode, but that was on the basis of 2 days of trading activity. As regards to CAD, I'm going to be very eager to see what it does at the beginning of this week and see if we either trade it back down or if we are in the middle of a breakout and we have to start going in long. Too soon to tell. Pound JPY, we, as I mentioned, we just ended up taking profit on 2 of the open trades from last week. They closed us out at profit a few minutes before we started this session. It also seems to be going back up now, so very likely we will be re-entering, reopening those trades. And again, I'm going to take a look at that as soon as this session is finished. Aussie JPY, yen weakness, what can we say? It's broken out of the cloud. It's broken the trend line. It's broken resistance. It's broken pretty much everything. But Thursday and Friday did see it slowing down. So another one where we'll be looking at its activity as the week kicks off. Euro New Zealand finally found some support at the trend line and the Ichimoku cloud, and Thursday and Friday saw it move bullish. I think we've pretty much missed the move. Though I will point out that on Thursday, it went all the way down past the cloud. You can see the wick sticking out here. So that was just a huge movement before it went all the way back up, and then on Friday continued up. So a very difficult thing to trade unless your stops are just crazy wild. And I try not to do anything crazy when we're managing money. So we didn't get into the Euro New Zealand, and I'll keep an eye on it, but I suspect that we may have missed this most recent movement. Pound Canadian, I did not. This is the 1 pound pair I did not trade because it was completely flat until Friday. Friday, it just woke up and went for broke. It did break resistance. So this is one of those where we probably missed a move, and I'm not going to be chasing it. But if it does continue moving up, I am going to have to start putting a little bit of money on it very cautiously and see what it's going to end up doing. Very likely on more on the short term or intermediate term than on any long-term trading. I'm not sure I buy into CAD weakness for a longer term trade. And last but not least, the pound Swiss. This trade is open. We have open longs on pound Swiss on the intermediate and the long-term account, and all of them are or both of them, I should say, are carrying quite a nice chunk of profit at this point in time. So we'll let that continue to run. That will be the end of our chart review for this start of week. Moving on to the setups in progress, of course, with the pound. It has confirmed its reversal breakout, and we're neck deep in open profit. Not as much now. We did get taken out of pound JPY, but again, that was profit we took, and we'll probably be jumping back in. This should not change until Parliament returns from its prorogation in about 4 weeks, barring, of course, any new event. So long as nothing changes, I just see the pound continuing to move into strength until Parliament comes back. The Swiss franc is struggling to maintain strength and is bouncing a lot. It's going in both directions, and we saw that on multiple Swiss pairs. Longer term trades are probably going to be safer than short term at this point, but again, very, very carefully. The Canadian dollar, it is returning to weakness. We saw that towards the middle to the end of last week. Not sure how long that's going to last, so we're going to be keeping an eye on it. And if it is weakening, we're going to end up trading it. But I suspect we're probably going to see it retrace back towards Canadian strength before too long. The yen still struggling to pick a direction, so it is weakening in general, but it's also having some retraces here and there. So it looks like it has yet to give up the fight. And of course, we're going to be watching it, but trading as cautiously as we can. I think we have one open trade, the USD JPY, and it is at profit. But again, very, very cautiously is what we're going to be doing there. The euro, it's beyond clearly struggling. It's moving into weakness across multiple pairs, probably the exception being the Euro New Zealand, where the euro gained the upper hand. But most of the other euro crosses are moving into euro weakness. And even though it did move into strength towards the, it had a fundie, it had an interest rate decision, which made it move for some reason. They lowered the interest rate and it still moved into strength, but it was already fizzling out. And we did open short positions on the euro as a result of that, which are pretty close to break even right now. But we are waiting for that retrace. So even though it had strength this past week, we don't see that lasting. And that pretty much brings us to the end, our final words of conclusion here. And I want to point out that for me, the technicals are the most important part of my analysis. And the sheer number of chart slides in this presentation, as opposed to non-chart slides, should clearly show you that I'm more a technical guy than a fundamental guy. But the fundamentals are already baked into the technicals. That's what any success will tell you. You may not know what the fundamentals are, but when you look at a chart, they're already baked in. Knowing your fundamentals, however, is going to give you a very clear advantage, an edge at some times. Case in point, a couple of weeks back, and you guys will remember this because you were here with me, we exited all our pound short profit, and almost immediately, if not the same day, the next day, we started jumping into pound long trades. This was 100% based on the fundamentals. On the charts, they still hadn't turned around. But based on what was happening in Parliament and the outlook and the sentiment, we took a little bit of a risk. This is going to strengthen the pound even before it happened, and we jumped in. We made a lot of money shorting the pound in the past few months, and now we're making a lot of money going long on the pound. The ability that we had in reading the fundamentals and realizing that pound weakness was going to stop and the likelihood of a reversal was high gave us that edge. We still would have made money. Once the breakout is confirmed on the technicals, we would have started going in long and we still would have ended up at profit. But we probably picked up 300, 400 pips more than we otherwise would have picked up by using the fundamentals to give us that little bit of a head start. So the fundamentals are going to be providing an early warning system is a summary of that bit. You don't need to become experts in every single currency in every single country, but it helps. So if you can get some familiarity with what's going on in the UK, in the US, in Japan, in Europe in general, in Canada, you're going to have a little bit of an edge over everybody else in that while you're still relying on the technicals, every now and then you're going to get an early warning that you should maybe get out of the trades or maybe even reverse the trades at some point in time. So take that into consideration. And again, I know everybody has time constraints as well as maybe they just find it boring to follow what's going on with the UK's parliament, but it will give you an edge. And if you can gain an edge that puts another 200, 300 pips in your pocket consistently, that's a good edge to have. And that's going to bring us to the end of this presentation for today, September 15th, 2019. Any comments or questions from anyone before we drop off? Okay, then thank you very much. We will be sending out summaries and recordings of this session very shortly. Have a great start of week, guys. Talk to you tomorrow.